everyone. This month, which is the end of August, we are here at the Sensory Garden at the Woodland Park Zoo in Seattle. We're going to take a tour of very fragrant gardens, which also include plants that are really interesting to feel and to touch and to smell and even to listen to. Let's take a walk.
Hi, I'm Peach and I'm here with Laura Rumpf, and we are going to give you a tour of the Sensory Garden here at Woodland Park Zoo. It's located in part of the Rose Garden, and back in a far corner it's kind of hidden, but there is some signage if you want to come and look at it yourself. It's set up to be all season, and I'm standing here by the map that they've created. It's a unique map in that it has some touch available to you even in Braille, all of the different parts of the garden. And we'd like to point out some things about the garden, what makes it unique. It has, Rose Garden itself has a long history here, almost 100 years. In 1922 it was put together, and then this is a new sensory garden that's just a few years old. The experience here is set up for you to view a meadow garden, which we are standing in right now. And within the meadow garden, there's a lot blooming at this time of year in the late summer. What's available here, there's a lot of scented plants that are available for you to experience, including white flower is a Daphne odora variety, and they've included it in the meadow garden. Some of these plants are very drought tolerant. There are things that will bloom year-round here, so it's definitely recommended that you come back in multiple seasons, and this garden is free. We do have to pay for parking here at the zoo, however. The plant collections are native and non-native plants mixed together, and as we walk through the garden, we'll point out some of those plants to you. You'll also see that there are some cedar trees that are historically here from the early years of the Rose Garden, some deodar cedars that have been kept. And part of the viewing of this garden is a long stroll through what they're calling the Woodland Garden, and that's shady and intimate and cool, has many shade-loving and native plants as well.
Thought we would start with the sense of touch and go around and feel some of these wonderful plants. There's a really soft one right here, which is a type of potentilla or cinquefoil. It's just really soft, and the flowers are almost papery. And right behind it is this beautiful grass. It's so soft. The seeds are falling off. And over here is an interesting table where they have stenciled and cut out pictures of animals. So here's an elephant. You see the elephant's trunk and the tusks and the ears, because after all, we are at the zoo. Here's an elephant looking straight on. It's actually pretty hot right now because of the sun hitting the metal. And over here is a bird. Pretty interesting. Have to be careful not to get in the way of bees.
Laura, it's really nice because it's kind of like a secret garden. Where's that pathway leading you?
Yeah,
I wonder.
Let's go see what's around the corner. Wow, around the corner I found lots of beautiful, colorful things like this geranium or pelargonium. And look at the color of this blue flower. I love it. And then on the other side, in the shade, we have some astilbe. You can see the blossoms are starting to fade. very soft. It almost feels rubbery. And then further along, we have some beautiful hydrangeas. It's almost like fur. Makes you want to pet it like a cat or a dog. Huge blossoms. Hydrangeas are one of those plants that are very nostalgic because almost all of us remember them from our grandmother's garden or our parents' garden or our neighbor's garden, and they are just as beautiful as ever.
The color is unique on these ones because it's white with just a little tiny bit of pink. Many of us remember hydrangeas as a blue or a dark pink.
And here you can see some lily pods. This is what remains of the flowers. They're kind of rubbery and hard. They feel like an eraser on a pencil. They must have been beautiful. And then on the other side is some rosemary. Also called the memory herb because the Romans and Greeks used to wear it as crowns in their hair before going in to take exams. So it is believed to stimulate the brain. Once again, there are more grasses. So as we walk down this next path, you'll just see lots of grasses. More lavender. Ooh, here we have some bee balm. Also just about done flowering. They leave these kind of prickly pods. You can hear the sound of it. There's a pretty patch of astilbe. It's so soft. The bees love it too. It's a bumblebee.
Laura, what's nice about this garden is that it's so accessible. You can see that they've made a nice smooth pathway. There are rocks for sitting. You need to rest in the shade. It's not real busy. It's kind of a hidden garden.
That's right. You hear a little bit of the zoo garage there, but other than that, it's really nice and peaceful here. But yeah, the pathways are smooth enough and flat enough and wide enough for even walkers and wheelchairs to get through. So that's really nice. And look at this beautiful fuchsia. Weeping down, it weeps just like this grass does, with the same sort of falling, cascading motion and texture.
If you listen really carefully, you can hear the pollinators. They're busy in these blooms.
They're busy on the comfrey as well. See that bumblebee?
Zipping around in there.
Busy.
There you
Got a lot of pollen on its legs. We have some anemone here. Love these round buds. Yep. They start off so round and then they open up into something very flat. Like that. And that, look at that round pod left in the center. I love this little pathway here. It's shaded and it's full of beautiful ferns. Let's take a look. So this This is a maidenhair fern. So delicate, so light to the touch, you barely even feel it. I love those black stems and delicate leaves. And then moving along is a different type of fern. I'm not sure what this fern is, but it's so beautiful. It's, oh, there's a little green cricket living on that. And
What is he?
fern, a little green grass, oh, flew away, grasshopper. Look at the backs of these ferns. Full of, I think they're called stomata. It's where the pollen comes out of. But this just beautiful mound of ferns. All the way over here. I want to show you this echinacea. Echinacea can be white or pink. And I think I've even seen some sort of orangey colors, but this one's white. But look at the center here. It's very spiky, but that's where the seeds are. And people use this plant medicinally. It helps boost your immune system. And it's pretty in the winter when all the petals fall off and what's left is this spiky cone. Here's another interesting plant. I call it the Dr. Seuss flower. For some reason, it reminds me of something you'd see in Dr. Seuss's books. It's dried now. Pretty crunchy. Seeds are on the inside.
Yeah, and that allium next to you is nice too.
Yeah, look at that.
It's got a
Big
crunchy
pom-pom.
shell, yeah. And the echinacea is behind it.
Yep, more echinacea. So that was our tour of texture and the sense of touch.
Here I am in the sound garden, and they have set us up with a lot of different interactive toys. This one makes sound on these pipes. And what else? There's another one here. It has handles. If you wanted to play some music here, you could try. And bells at different tones. And here is a wind chime. And then these are some sound tubes as well, making low sounds, like drums maybe. And same thing, if you have the ability to recognize different pitches and tones, you could probably play some music here.
Could have a whole symphony here.
That's right, we need a larger group. So behind us too, where they're doing all these activities at the zoo, you might be hearing them washing something, washing animals perhaps.
Yep. So I'm going to walk up this mound to where Peach is and see what the view looks like from up here.
This is a fun climbing mound, and here we are standing on top of it looking at the garden. You can see the rose garden out in the distance, and then the meadow garden below us.
Shade garden over there, the parking lot, the sound garden, the meadow.
Laura, the colors are so soft right now for the end of summer. Unlike spring when everything is really bright, these colors are more pastel-y and soft and kind of moving into autumn colors.
That's right.
The grasses are golden. Everything is taking on a golden hue. Even the weeds that are growing up on top.
Yeah, interesting how the colors change through the seasons. We're going to follow Peach around the corner to another sound, but first I had to show you these gorgeous orange roses. Waving in the wind. Can you hear the water in the background? Ah, wow.
Just a very soft waterfall.
That's beautiful.
This is part of the Civic Rose Garden, and it was put in, like I said, back in the early 1920s as this by the Seattle Rose Society, and it's a free garden. It's available for all of us to enjoy. Lots of rose species and other shrubs. Possible to come here as well year round. I think you could enjoy this garden at any time of year. Especially in Seattle. I think sometimes we have roses that even bloom in the winter. Does that happen at your house, Laura? I've had a few that are still blooming, and if not blooming, they may have rose hips on them, which are very interesting.
Right. And I see more water in the distance here. Look at this beautiful little Nicotiana, just perfectly positioned in this beautiful water lily pond.
Laura, the lily pads are fabulous over here.
Let's go take a look at them. So this is the lily pad pool. Oh, is that a lotus, do you think, Peach?
It looks like
The
a
one
lotus
that's sticking
flower.
up? That would be interesting. The colors of those lilies. You can see the little sculpted lion's head with some goldfish. Let's go to the next fountain. Here's another water fountain. A nice place to sit and just listen to the water. So here we have something that is actually edible. These are rose hips. And you can harvest the rose hips when they're nice and red, like this one here especially. And you can dry them out, and then you can make a tea from them. And it's very high in vitamin C and probably some other vitamins. And not only tea, but some people make jelly or jam from rose hips. So yeah, we have the sense of taste here. There are many plants and herbs in any garden that can be edible. You just have to be careful that you know that they are for sure edible. This one we know for sure is rose hips. I love the texture of these trees. Maybe they're cypresses or arborvitae. But don't they look like puffy clouds the way they've been pruned? Very soft. And then these red roses really stand out up close to the green trees. I think we should go take a walk through the rows of roses. So moving on to the sense of smell, Peach is going to take us on a little sniffing tour through the rose garden, because what better thing to smell is there than roses? That was a huge rose shrub that she was just sniffing. There's some beautiful, almost hot pink roses here. How do these smell, Peach?
They have some scent. It's very delicate. It's almost looks like a wild rose because of its simplistic bloom.
Mm-hmm.
It's very basic, simple petals.
Mm-hmm.
But a strong looking plant.
Yeah, look how many there are of them.
I think with the native or the older roses, a lot of times they have many spikes. Lots of thorns.
Oh, the thorns, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take a
These
close
ones
look
are
at
quite
those.
thorny. You see them there on this?
Mm-hmm. Ouch.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. How about on this side? Look at these beautiful peach-colored roses, which match your dress.
Match my dress. Sweet.
Is that what they call a double rose? Where
Oh. Mm-hmm.
it's not as simple as the one we just saw. It's got a bunch of little blooms ready to open. Wow, that's a prolific one. And very tall.
Mm-hmm. Looks healthy. I love roses in the Pacific Northwest because we have such a long bloom time. They start in the spring, and people say the height of their bloom is in June, but I think they're still blooming pretty strong. And here we are, and towards the end of August.
Mm-hmm. Look, now this looks like the yellows and oranges. Wow, what a beautiful color that one is.
Even this red one next to you has kind of a brick red. It's
Yeah.
very different.
That is really different. Mm-hmm. That's actually a closer color to your dress.
Very warm tone. There are a lot of them behind you too, Laura. They're next to the, the yellows and oranges.
And yellows.
Kind of a fiery part of the garden.
Yes.
Yeah. And they do smell sweet. These ones have a nice scent.
So beautiful.
Even the leaves on this one have a warm tone to them. Look at that. Reddish brown leaves. Even new ones as they're coming out, they get darker green as they get older.
And they don't have as many thorns on these stems. I barely see any.
Or what you see down lower, see that?
Oh,
There's
there's the
they're
big
bigger
ones.
spikes. More noticeable if you're watching out for them.
There you go. That's a big thorn.
They're telling us not to touch.
That's right. So there's a nice overview of the rose garden. Hear the seagulls. You know we're close to the sea. Here we have some sedums, and you can see, you can tell it's the end of summer. They're starting to turn color, and they must be full of nectar because look at the bees.
Honeybees all over that.
Wow, they're loving it. Let's go check out what those tall sunflower-like plants are over there. So we're thinking that these are sunchokes. These are not roses. They sure look beautiful, especially next to these pink roses. And most of the roses do have name plaques. I like this one. Singing in the Rain. Not today. We're enjoying the sunshine. Butterfly.
I'm going to close up my skirt so that I don't have bees going up my dress. Fun little pathway going through this part of the rose garden, so I thought I'd take you on a little adventure. As Laura had pointed out, these are, I believe, Jerusalem artichoke flowers, and they do resemble a sunflower, just a smaller one. And we just kind of climb on through here without getting too many bees disturbed. It's a fun little pathway, kind of hidden and mysterious. And then here we are on the other side. There's some beautiful white roses here and a white Veronica. And there's also a yellow fuchsia. So they've mixed some things into the rose garden to soften it. I think the rose garden sometimes in the winter looks a little bit barren. So it's fun to see a lot of these other flowers blooming as well.
So Peach, tell us about this tree.
Well, I believe that this tree is called a Harlequin glory bower, and it's such a fun tree because it looks beautiful in many seasons. It does get a berry that will start showing up fairly soon, but right now we still have flowers on it and a lot of pollinators working.
And it's so fragrant. I can smell it just standing close to it. So do these, are these the calyxes, what remains of the flowers, will become...
Can you see inside
fruit?
them? They're blue. So they develop a blue seed pod from that glory bower, and this one is still green, but you'll see that it starts turning blue as it dries. And when these little outer leaves fall off, or petals from the flower, then the tree starts developing this blue tone, and surely that's where it received its name, Harlequin.
That is such a beautiful tree. So you can tell that it is the end of summer and fall's coming on with these baby crab apples. Wow, it's loaded with crab apples. To come back here and taste one.
And this is what they're calling the gathering space. We're back where we started with this tactile table. It's really special because it has all the zoo animals really reflected here for us to enjoy and be able to sit and have a lunch with friends. And again, back underneath this really nice arbor that brings you back into the entrance of the garden. We welcome you to come back to the Sensory Garden yourselves. It's open year-round, it's a community gathering space, and it's kind of a hidden space. A lot of people haven't known about it. So come see the flowers while they're still in bloom in the rose garden and meander through here.